to the open side. Karim Bete. Lovely ball here to Samu, who's quick. Pete Samu looking for Karim Bete. Back to Samu. Oh, that is wonderful. That is wild. That is amazing from the Wallabies.
Welcome to Pick and Drive Rugby. We are the People's Podcast, providing a platform for rugby lovers to come together and support the game that is played in heaven. Match reviews, player interviews, quality rugby chat that is consistent and positive. We do it all for you, our dear listeners. So I'm your host, Ando. With me is Mitch. And Mitch, it has been a wonderful time to have a break, to get together with the family, but we are back and excited to announce to our fans all that's happening in 2023. How much weight did you put on with the Christmas turkeys, my friend? Because I put on a bunch.
Oh, the Christmas season's always fun. It feels like we've only been gone for a week or two, but very excited to be back and looking forward to everything that 2023 is going to sort of hold and shape up to be.
I'm not sure if you had the same conversation with the missus, but when I let her know that I was recording the pod tonight, she's like, "Already? The off season's done already? You're back in?" I'm like, "Oh, babe, it's pre-season. We've got to get into it." So it'll
exactly
be another year of having rugby wives, but that's okay.
That's right.
It is definitely okay. Well, mate, we've got some very exciting news that we are going to be introducing tonight. This is not a preview episode for any of the Super Rugby teams. It's a preview episode for the Pick and Drive Rugby podcast in 2023. So why don't you take on over this announcement?
All right. So in 2022, we released 64 podcasts. That equals at least 3,840 or thereabout minutes of Australian rugby chat. We were joined by international stars, local heroes across both the men's and the women's game. Since the pod began, you've listened to us over 150,000 times. Well, in 2023, we want to build on that platform that you have built with us by embracing our goal of being the People's Podcast. Ando and I have sat down and come up with 4 simple and effective ways that we can create the best online Australian rugby community, crossing all supporter bases, age groups, and demographics. The 4 pillars are the creation of an online community on Discord, providing fan-selected match of the week previews, revamping the structure and elements of our podcast, and providing instant reaction podcasts and fan meetups when we get to live matches. Ando, why don't you sort of dive into that first pillar, which is our online community?
Yeah, I'm very, very excited for this one. Basically, we are establishing the first ever Australian rugby community on Discord. So for those of us who are a little bit older, such as myself, Discord is basically the new and improved version of forums like the Green and Gold rugby website, which were really, really popular back, say, 10, 15 years ago, before other social media platforms came on and kind of took over that online space. So Discord is very popular for the creation of communities and bringing people together who share similar interests. So it's a really great way to connect with other like-minded rugby fans around the country and around the globe. So why should you bother? Why should you bother joining our Discord community? Well, to begin with, it's really, really easy to set up and do. It's free as well. You'll be able to chat with us, with our knowledgeable and level-headed fans across rugby. And also, unlike many other Facebook groups and websites, we will ensure that the banter and the conversations remain positive, or at the very least, considering the state of Australian rugby at times, constructive. So if you want to talk with other people who like rugby, you love rugby down to the very core of who you are, or you just like rugby a bit, join our Discord server. You can follow the link provided on, I don't know, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or just searching for Pick and Drive Rugby as a server on Discord. It's genuinely, it is easy to use, really easy to access, and it will provide us with an incredible opportunity to build one of, if not the best, in my opinion, online rugby communities for Australian rugby. So I'm really, really excited for that.
And we might also add on to our social platforms a link to the Discord as well. We've got links to our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram, and we'll add a link for our Discord as well. So we'll make it easy for you to get involved.
Mate, take us through our match of the week announcement as well, where we do a review of the game that the fans have selected. Take us through that.
Yeah, so in 2022, last year, we sort of generalized a little bit in terms of our approach to the rugby content, and we we realized that the podcast probably went a little bit longer than most people wanted to listen to. An hour and a half to 2 hours is probably too much to listen to Ando and I yarn on about rugby without a guest on or someone with a little bit more insight than both of us. So what we're going to do in 2023 is we want to hear from you. We're putting this back to you, our fans. And so what we will be doing is sending out a poll, probably via Twitter, because I don't think Facebook at the moment has those capabilities, but we will figure that out before round one starts. But at the end of the round, on Saturday night for Super Rugby Pacific, each week, we'll send out a poll on Twitter asking for you, our fans, to choose which match you thought was the highlight of the week, which match you want us to go into detail about. Now, we are an Australian rugby podcast, so it might be the Crusaders and the Chiefs were the best game of the weekend, but we want to have an Aussie flavour, so we will be choosing the 5 Australian teams. So we'll send that out. We'll get you involved. We'll get you to answer those polls. We generally record on a Sunday night to be released on a Monday morning. So you'll have roughly 24 hours or so to get that answer in and to let us know which one you want us to talk about. So that'll be really exciting, and we'll go into greater detail on one game. We will still talk about all the other games, so we won't just be talking about the Waratahs every single week this year. But we will talk about the highlights and maybe the little brief touches on each game from the round, and we'll go into greater detail in one game.
We will. And so that's a very exciting thing, because we wanted to provide clear-cut opportunities for fan interactions and fan engagement to be able to shape the structure and the direction of the show moving forward. And the next part, the next pillar of what we're going to be doing is how we're actually going to be revamping the podcast with new segments and ideas and initiatives as well. So I'll talk about this a little bit, provide a bit of an overview, and then Mitch, if you want to kind of jump on and provide your 2 cents on it too, then please go ahead. But Mitch and I got together at a pub at the end of last year, had a feed, had a chat, and we were talking about what could we do as segments within the pod that would really be fun for a listener to feel like they're either directly before the pod or during the pod engaging with. So one of those is wanting to establish ongoing types and forms of rugby trivia that are integrated into our episodes on a fairly regular basis. So that might be either like a full episode of trivia, or it might be a couple of questions at the beginning, and then the answers come later on within the pod. And a couple of other segments as well, such as things like Wallaby Watch, overseas or all abroad overseas players and the like. So a whole bunch of different ideas that we're going to be bringing to the table and intersperse at different points throughout the season. Mitch, is there anything you wanted to expand upon or dive a little bit deeper in with that pillar?
Yeah, I guess tying into that idea of the People's Podcast, yet again, we will be, as you mentioned, Ando, we'll be doing some sort of fun and interactive segments each week, and we hope to sort of establish about 4 or 5 between 4 and 6 different segments that we can cycle throughout the season. But if you've got any ideas of games, or you've got trivia, if you've got a brain like Rev who just knows every single obsolete fact about rugby, about anything, do get in touch. Send us a message on the socials, and we will give you a shout out. We will let everyone know that this did come from so from Jim from Melbourne, say. But we want to hear from you as well. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to adding that little bit of interactive element to the podcast, and it's going to keep us on our toes to try and make sure that we're ahead and the answers that we provide are actually correct.
I know that's going to be challenging. I think we're going to have some absolute rugby norses who are just going to prove how much their brains can store of that rugby knowledge. I'll have to drop some of the ancient history content that I've got up in the grey matter and shove that out of the way for more rugby stats, but that's a good thing. Now, the final element that we wanted to touch on was our instant reaction pods. So what we're going to be doing is Mitch and I are going to, as Sydney-based individuals, we are going to be attending as many live games of rugby based in Sydney that we possibly can. Now, unfortunately for some of you who aren't from New South Wales, that means we're going to be going to every Waratahs game, as well as the Rugby Championship match against Argentina, which will be in Sydney. But as soon as that match ends, and once we've done the post-match presses and the like, are going to record and release that evening with minimal editing and the like, an instant reaction pod to the matches that we go to. So this will include Super W, any games we get to, and Sevens matches as well, if we can do that too. So we just wanted to provide that consistency and immediacy of information and entertainment and podcast to you, our listeners. So that's that element. And the other part is before a lot of these matches, we're going to be meeting up at a nearby pub for a feed and a yarn. So we already know for the opening round of Super Rugby, a bunch of our friends from across the state and down in ACT as well are coming up for the opening match against the Brumbies for the Tars at the new stadium. So we're going to be meeting up with them for a feed at a pub nearby. So we'll let you guys know the dates and the location of that, or the time and the location ahead of time, and all the merrier. We're really wanting to do this community, this building a network of people that just love the game of rugby. So instant reaction pods, meetups before the games. Another thing, I know I'm going to be heading down to Super Round in Melbourne. I'm putting you on the spot here. Mitch, are you also locked in for heading down to Super Round?
Yep, I've got the tick off by the wife. I just need to approve my leave from work, but considering I'm the manager, I don't think that'll be too much of an issue. So yeah, I'm definitely be down there for that.
You are your own manager. Yeah, I've got to see when I can possibly get away from school on a Friday, if they'll let me go earlier, if I'll be flying in and just racing directly to the stadium. Who knows? So it's going to be great. We're very, very excited. And mate, that's it for the 4 pillars of what we're doing. I might just recap. It's the online community via Discord, the match of the week, the revamped podcast structure, as well as instant reaction pods and fan meetups.
Fantastic.
Very much so. Very much so. All right. Now, the final thing that we want to say, because we do want to keep this short and sharp. We want to firstly say thank you for those of you who have listened and helped create the community that we have here with Pick and Drive Rugby. Mate, I think it's pretty ridiculous that we have over 150,000 listens across our time. Like, that's an insane number for just 2 blokes who love rugby that started up a pod. And that number has been increasing, obviously, but the numbers have been getting bigger and bigger, and that just shows that there are people that want to hear positive rugby chat out there. So thank you, listeners, for that. And I also want to say thank you for those of you who have chosen to financially chip in a bit and support us too. There's a large time commitment that we put into this on a weekly basis, and having just a little trickle of money come in to help us with buying like a new mic that I'm using for the first time tonight. So hopefully you can hear the quality difference within there. Some of the tech stuff that we'll be using for the recording of the instant reaction pods at the ground. Like, your donations are helping to directly support the pod, because we do it for love, not money, and every little bit counts. So thank you. And if you are interested in starting off the new year by helping us out with that, please go to ko-fi.com/pick-and-drive-rugby. Mitch, anything final you wanted to add there before we finish up?
Yeah, so I guess a few things. That first of all, that element of what we've put some of the money towards that has come in already. Ando does have a shiny new mic that to match my one, so hopefully he does sound a little bit fresher and better already, which is exciting. One of the other things that we've got working on behind the scenes this year is, like, 2023 is going to be a massive year for Australian rugby. For just rugby in general. We've got a World Cup. We've got Super Rugby Pacific. We've got the Sydney Sevens in a few weeks. There's so much opportunity to get involved. And we're really looking forward to the performances that the Wallabies are going to put in this year, that all the Australian Super Rugby teams are going to put in. So we've got some really good and positive things to chat about, which I'm really looking forward to. We're shaking up how we record the podcast as well this year. So hopefully the sound sounds a little bit better. That audio quality is a little bit more improved than what we were doing in the last year or so. But we're also going to be releasing the podcast on YouTube. So if you are watching us on YouTube right now, welcome. Thank you. If you are listening to the podcast via the podcasting platform, we are going to also release on YouTube as well. So if you want to see us as well as hear us, do get involved there and and check us out on that. So 2 different platforms. When we're not going to focus on one over the other, we are primarily still a podcast, so that is kind of our focus. We're not going to put anything on the YouTube channel that isn't going to be accessible via audio either. So we're not going to focus on the sort of content that we did with our live streams so much. we're just going to be able to have that video element there too. If you like to watch videos or YouTube or whatever in the background, it's just another way to engage with our community. So we will keep doing the podcast. We will keep coming out Monday morning at 6 a.m. I think it normally drops. So
Monday morning, 6 a.m.
So if you are how you have been listening to us this year, we will be back there again. So yeah, continue listening that way.
Final thing we'll say is that our first episode will be dropping on Monday, the 16th of January. So next Monday, from the time that you are listening to this, if you're listening to it when in a week that it's released. So we will be starting our previews of the upcoming Super Rugby Pacific season. I won't specifically say which team it is we're going to preview. We'll leave that as a little surprise because it somewhat depends on the interview lineups that we get. So we're very, very excited to start that process off, and we'll be making sure we get through all of the Australia-based, including the Fijian and Drua, within the 6 weeks prior to the beginning of the Super Rugby competition. So I think that's it, mate. I think we're done.
Yep, very much looking forward to 2023. Looking forward to the next few weeks of previews for the different Aussie and Fijian Super Rugby Pacific sides. So it's going to be a massive season, and just can't wait for the rugby to start again. It feels like it only finished a few weeks ago, but it feels like too long already.
All right, team. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. We're excited for 2023. We hope you are too. Don't forget, join our Discord community. Get the link on any of our social media platforms, or download and install Discord if you don't have it already, and just search for Pick and Drive Rugby. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and you'll hear us next Monday with the first of our Super Rugby Pacific previews. Catch you later. Bye.
See you, everyone.